Yesterday, we talked about what Aaron Philo would bring to the Florida Gators as a starter. Today, it's Tramell Jones time.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, wherever the podcast and on YouTube. I am Brandon Olsen, as always. And yesterday, we spent the show talking about Aaron Philo and what he brings to the table. Specifically, today, we're going to talk about Tramell Jones, and we're going to wrap up by talking about the Florida Gators basketball team, because the latest odds have Florida tied with Duke to be favorites, which is a bit different because it used to be Michigan in there as well. Of course, Dusty May went to the Dallas Mavericks, so that has changed. But the thing that Tramell Jones brings to the table that Aaron Philo doesn't is the arm talent immediately. Like that's the thing that everyone's going to talk about as that's what pops. It's always going to be, hey, Tramell Jones has a much livelier arm, a bigger arm. He's the guy that's going to have more explosive passing plays probably. And he has the thing that I've talked about as my biggest concern for Aaron Philo. When people talk about like interceptions and everything, you know, despite how much we may want to just go, oh, well, it was actually just a great play by the corner or whatever we're saying. Still, I've been open about this since Monday. I don't like the way that Jon Sumrall spoke about that one. I know that we talk about turnovers, and that's the thing that everybody talks about. For me, I'm more concerned with the overall arm talent, the ability to throw not just downfield. Like you can get the ball downfield. That's never been the thing. Because I see people in the comments that are like, oh, like, I've seen him throw the ball 50, 60 yards. That's cool. I don't care if you could throw it far. I care if you could throw it far with velocity. That's the thing that matters, is throwing it far with velocity to fit it in a window so that you can't just have a deep safety come looping all the way around. Because if it looks like a punt, they're going to come return it, right? Like that's how I'm going to liken it. If it looks like a punt, they're basically a returner at that point. And so I think that the big thing is just Tramell Jones has a much livelier arm, and that makes him more dangerous as a passer. That also allows him the ability to fit passes into tighter windows. Like, again, my thing with Aaron Philo has been, I don't think you're going to be able to make tight window throws in the SEC. Because in the ACC, there were some throws where it's like, well, even if you did get away with it, you should not have gotten away with it. And then there were some throws that were interceptions. I was like, eesh, probably wouldn't have happened if you had more zip on it. And I know that people are like, oh, like he's just got to, step into it more. He's got to. No, I'm sorry. He's fairly clean. Like he's only going to be able to throw with so much more velocity. I don't think it's going to be this big drastic difference there. I think he's going to be able to make most of the throws. And if they're open, he's going to be able to make any throw, right? But when there is a window that's closing, are you going to be able to make that throw? That's my big concern. Because in the SEC, which, by the way, Aaron Philo has not seen, and I'm not saying Tramell Jones has seen a lot of it either. I want to make that abundantly clear. But in the SEC, you are going to face better athletes than you've faced throughout your career. That's just a fact. In the SEC, most defensive backs that you face are probably going to get a good look in the NFL. That's not the same for the ACC. And I'm not even trying to do like a conference thing. I'm just trying to point out that the athletes you're going to face on a week-to-week basis here, more dangerous than you've seen before. That's the part that scares me. I think Tramell Jones, you watch the ball, just flies off his hand. And I'm not talking about when we see these practice clips that come out and I see the timeline just eviscerating some of the quarterbacks and some of the passes. It's not just Aaron Philo. And some of the slow passes and the passes that kind of look a little bit lagging behind, right? But when you watch Tramell Jones throw a ball, it does not look like that. Okay. And I will absolutely say, we spoke about this yesterday. The biggest thing that Aaron Philo brings to the table is his ability to actually operate the offense. That's been the biggest thing he brings to the table is his ability to actually operate the offense. And that's been the thing that Tramell Jones is supposedly struggling with, right? Jon Sumrall mentioned, hey, there were 2 times during the scrimmage where he tried snapping the ball without bringing the guy into motion. And like, you can't do that, right? Which I fully understand. I fully back. That's the reason that I think Aaron Philo is going to be the starter, honestly. I think being able to quarterback the offense is the most important part. Having the big arm does help, right? It does help. Having the ability to make all the throws does help. But it doesn't matter if you can make those throws if the actual offense is just not running effectively or efficiently, and especially if you're part of that. That's the thing where I'm like, all right, I kind of get it. I'm not gonna sugarcoat a damn thing. I kind of get it there, and I think that that's part where we go, all right, let's maybe rein it in a little bit with some of the talk, because I do think that when you talk about this quarterback competition, we're often talking about like, oh, well, interceptions that we're hearing about, things that we're not seeing. Like when you watch these guys throw the football, it is abundantly clear who throws with more velocity. It is abundantly clear who has more of the just physical arm talent. That's not a question for me in the slightest way. But what is the question is, okay, like can you operate the offense? Again, you watch Tramell Jones throw a football, and that thing is beautiful. Right? I'm gonna be real with you. I don't think it's even particularly close when we talk about pure arm talent and what that looks like. Like I don't think it's that close to compare the two of them. I think there's a little bit of a gap that's I mean, like I'm saying a little bit of a gap to be nice. It's a Grand Canyon size gap. Like that I'm talking about a guy where I go, well, I'm not sure you've got the arm talent to make the tight window throws, and one guy where I'm going, I know you do. That's sizable, right? I'm trying to be nice, but that's a sizable gap in my opinion. And again, I know there's a lot of people who do not feel the same way about Aaron Philo, who are not concerned about it. That's cool. That's you. I'm not telling you what to say, what to think, how to feel about it. I'm telling you based on my evaluation of watching Aaron Philo and watching Tramell Jones, with again, the very limited reps, which is why I have a hard time having a hard stance on either one of them. That's why I go, all right, like Tramell to me is the better option. But again, I haven't seen much of either of them, so it's tough. But if we're talking pure physical arm talent, it's abundantly clear that Tramell Jones has the advantage there. We mentioned the interceptions, right? We need to talk more about that because that can't be a thing that we just gloss over. We're going to talk about it when we get back with Locked On Gators. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. And you got to talk about protecting the football here, right? Like Aaron Philo is someone where we've heard a lot about interceptions. We've heard a lot about, yes, he is the guy that's better at actually functioning the offense or making the offense function, but he's also the guy that has had turnovers. And he's the guy that throughout his very limited reps in his career has 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions thrown to this point, right? He's got rushing as well, right? Like he's made plays running the football. But we're talking about a guy that has 2 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions, one of them against Gardner-Webb, where he did get hit, but he also ran into the hit. Like, we've heard a lot from the start of spring ball about Aaron Philo's interceptions. And again, I want to make this clear too. I don't fault him for every one of them. We spoke about this, I forgot if it was yesterday or maybe Tuesday, that when you talk about Aaron Philo's interceptions, it's also important. Like, I don't think you should downplay them, but it's also important to not overplay them, right? Like I use the example of if you throw a pick on Monday, You throw a pick on Tuesday, no pick on Wednesday, a pick on Thursday, pick on Friday, or whatever it is, right? Or I think I think that was the analogy I used. And on Monday, it turns out it hit the wide receiver's hands and tip drill pick. On Thursday, it was receiver ran the wrong route and would have been open if he ran the right route, but it got picked. There you go. That's 2 interceptions are his fault of the 4. That's not to excuse anything. That it's just why I can't go like, oh yeah, he's got this pick, this pick, this pick, this pick. Part of that could honestly be the arm velocity, the arm talent, right? Like that could be a decent part of it when we're talking about when we're talking about what might lead to the pick is if you're not getting the ball out with enough velocity, that's going to be an issue. Like if you're not getting the ball out with enough velocity, that's going to be an issue because DBs can close in. That's the issue. That's the concern with the arm talent, right? But I also kind of think that Aaron Philo's picks are kind of just who he is. Again, the reason I'm not faulting him entirely and crushing him for them is because I don't know the actual context. I'm not there. You're not there. Like we're not watching these happen all the time, right? But I do think that that's kind of who he is. And where we're looking at with the quarterbacks, like it's kind of backwards in a way. Aaron Philo does not have the same arm juice that Tramell Jones has. Arm juice is probably a weird way to word it, but it's how I'm going to word it anyway. He does not have that same juice throwing the football as Tramell Jones. But he's going to try to rip that thing through a small window, okay? Tramell Jones, on the other hand, does have the juice, does have the arm talent, but with what we've seen, he seems kind of like a more conservative passer of the 2 options there. I think for a lot of people, that might be we're going to call it interesting. that's the word we're going to use to call it. It's interesting to see the quarterback that has less juice to be the more aggressive guy and the quarterback that has the arm talent to make the throw that's kind of there to be more of a conservative passer. But I also think that part of that comes down to that's a big reason for interceptions, right? Or that's a big reason that you might not have as many explosives as you think, right? Like I think that with Tramell's arm, you have more availability for explosives, right? But if you're passing up available deep shots to take just what's quick underneath and open, then you might not get those explosives, right? We spoke about this with Graham Mertz at times, right? And I think that it's different when, and by that, we spoke about it with Graham Mertz, I do mean that, like we spoke about the conservative passing mentality of like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to take that deep shot. I'm just going to go what's underneath and live to fight another down. And that's cool, right? I think the way to quarterback is to find a happy medium. To go, hey, yeah, sometimes I'm going to try to rip it. Like if I got a hole shot, and like if there's cover 2, there's a corner underneath on the sideline, and there's a safety over top on the sideline, there's a gap, there's a window for me to just fire that ball through if I'm capable of firing that ball through. I think Tramell Jones can do that physically. Will he mentally do it? I don't know. We haven't really seen him with the opportunity to do it in college. So I think that there's that where I know he's physically capable of making that throw. But is he going to go for that? Is he going to be that level of aggressive? I think that's where you kind of have to go, oh, I don't know. Are you gonna? Or are you going to be a little bit conservative with it? But I do think that the counterpoint to that is what Graham Mertz was really good at, was protecting the football. Like that matters. I think that there are some guys that'll say, hey, I'll take turnovers if it comes with big plays. And there's some guys that'll go, I hate turnovers. I will live with less explosive plays or fewer explosive plays if it means that we're just moving the sticks and driving. And I will say this personally, that's my preference, right? That's my preference. I want a guy that physically can make all the throws, but I also want a guy that mentally is fine saying, let's play sustainable football here. Go back to 2024 when we were talking about DJ Lagway and Florida was looking good and they were going on this big run. The thing that I kept saying was they're not playing sustainable football. It's going to come crashing down at some point. And it did come crashing down, and that kept you from being able to be really great, right? And so there's things like that. And I also think that it depends on the situation and the talent that you have around you, right? Look at the Alabamas when they were under Nick Saban and they were fantastic, right? Look at Georgia when they were winning national championships. Look at Ohio State a couple years ago, Michigan a couple years ago, Indiana. I mean, look, I'm going to give Mendoza his respect as a quarterback, but he's not this like generational talent. He's a really smart quarterback that's gritty as hell. Like the taking the shot spin into the end zone in the national championship game. That was awesome. That was gritty as hell. That was cool as hell. But like we're talking about guys who, in order to win, you have to just be smart, protect the football. For a lot of what we're looking at, right? Like we're looking at, again, Michigan with JJ McCarthy, and we're looking at Ohio State with Will Howard. And there's like, hey, just get the ball to your playmakers. I think in order to play winning football in college football, and even the NFL to an extent, you need a point guard. Like that's what you need. And I don't mean a point guard in the sense of like I mentioned, like we mentioned, like SGA, right? Like I'm not saying like SGA. I'm not saying a point guard like Jalen Brunson, right? Like, I'm a Knicks fan. I'm gonna mention Jalen Brunson. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you need a Rondo, a Chris Paul, who I know Chris Paul never won a championship, but Rondo did. Rondo won a couple. And I think you need a guy like that where it's like, hey, my job is to distribute the ball to the great players. I'm not supposed to be the guy that's making the crazy plays, right? My job's to distribute. I'm supposed to say, hey, here Ray Allen, here Paul Pierce, here Kevin Garnett. Like that's supposed to be my job, right? It's not supposed to be like, screw it, I got it, and just go. And I do think that there comes that trade-off. And it's like, I care about winning more than anything else. That's it. And I think in college football right now, the way you win is having a point guard. That's it. Like you've got Dallas Wilson. You've got Eric Singleton Jr. You've got Vernell Brown III. You've got Jaden Baugh. You've got Evan Pryor. You've got Duke Clark. You've got Micah Mays. You've got Bailey Stockton. You've got London Montgomery. You've got Luke Harper. You've got Amir Jackson. Like you've got so many players. And look, like I'm not high on the tight end room, right? But I'm talking about the tight end room as like option 6 and 7. And like tight end 1 is option 6. And that's a good spot to be in. 4 receivers in a back or 3 receivers and 2 backs ahead of them. Like that's a good spot to be in. Okay. And then you have your tight end that can catch the ball, move the sticks, maybe create an explosive every now and then. Like you got to have a quarterback that's just advancing the ball. And when we've talked about these offenses in the spring game and from what we've heard from the scrimmage and the scrimmages in the spring, like when we've heard about this, we've heard, and even just in normal practices, we've heard about Aaron Philo's interceptions and not so much Tramell Jones. And maybe we've heard about almost interceptions, but like almost ain't a pick, right? And you can argue that the reason it was an almost and not a pick was because of the ability to just rip a ball through a window. And I think you talk about that, like we've heard one guy turning the ball over a lot and one guy not. And we've heard a coaching staff that said, hey, limit turnovers, protect the football, create explosives. It's tough to create explosives if you're giving them the football. And I think that's a big concern that Tramell Jones, I'm not saying he's going to be great, by the way. I'm just saying stylistically, he's someone that seems to be a more conservative thrower of the football. And that should lead to more yak, more sustained drives, puts your defense in better spots. That's what I think when we talk about what we've seen from Tramell Jones, the limited bit, and what we've seen from Aaron Philo. And you can take what you heard and you can throw it out the window. Honestly, you know, a great poet once said, F what you heard, it's what you're hearing, right? And so you could take that. And what you're hearing right now is someone saying, I don't think either option is awesome. But I think one option is probably a more winning mentality quarterback. And that's not a knock on Philo in the sense of like he doesn't want to win. I said yesterday, I think that's one thing about him is that he's crazy and he's going to put his body on the line to win. But I think one guy plays a more winning style. And to me, that's Tramell Jones. But again, it's tough for me to be like hard stance in either way because we haven't seen much of anything from either of them. But based on the limited reps we've seen, that's how I feel about it. We're going to talk about the basketball team because the latest odds have them tied as favorites to win the national championship when we get back with Locked On Gators. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. And best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games. Whether you're following your favorite team to keep an eye on matchups across the league, every game has someone capable of going deep. And now you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. So if you want to go and play your game, join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. Thanks, Sam, for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, whether it's in the podcast and on YouTube. And to wrap up today's show, we are going to talk about the Florida Gators, who are now tied with just Duke to be the national champions in this 2026-2027 college basketball season. Of course, Florida won it 2 years ago, and then Michigan won it this past year with their 35-year-old roster, which is apparently the trend in college sports right now. And then Dusty May left to go to the Dallas Mavericks. So for a while ago, or for most of the summer, it was Florida, Duke, and Michigan were the three schools at the top. FanDuel now has Florida and Duke tied as the favorites to win it all at plus 600. And this is a team that is mostly built around retention, right? You've got guys like Thomas Haugh, like Alex Condon, like Rueben Chinyelu. They were the best front court in the nation last year, and they're going to be the best front court in the nation again this year. That's what they bring to the table. Thomas Haugh is making a bajillion dollars, reportedly, depending on what sources you're looking at. And he's going to be the lifeblood of this team, the lifeblood of this roster. He was last year. He was someone that ended up becoming a huge player during the national championship run. And he was a guy that, again, he was one of the very few consistent pieces that showed up consistently for the Florida Gators during the 2025-2026 college basketball season, where they, of course, got eliminated by Iowa in a very disappointing game. But he was the guy. Like he was the person that you look at and you talk to and you go, all right, that's the dude. That's the guy that is the lifeblood of the team. And then he's got, his best friend, Alex Condon, and Rueben Chinyelu. They're both coming back for one more year where genuinely all three of these guys could have been NBA draft picks. Different spots, sure, but Thomas Haugh is someone that we spoke about. I think the earliest mock I saw him go was, I want to say 13th. Then you had Rueben Chinyelu, who at one point they were like, oh, Rueben Chinyelu might be a late first-round pick, might be a really early second-round pick. He's going to be in that range as a guy where the league is kind of starting to go back toward valuing offensive rebounding and paint protection, and especially with guys like SGA who are just attacking the paint. So you got to have a big that can help you defend there. And Rueben Chinyelu showed at multiple times he was able to defend everybody. Like he was able to do it all. And so when you're talking about this big three front court all coming back, you have to talk about those three again. Where there was a point in time where we were like, all right, all three of them are probably gone. All three, and Alex Condon is someone that you hope does continue to develop. Had a down year last year, especially shooting the ball. Still a great paint protector. When he's aggressive, he's a really fun player to watch. When he's aggressive, he's really fun to watch down there. But Thomas Haugh, Alex Condon, Rueben Chinyelu, the best front court in college basketball back-to-back years. And not many places can say that they have anything even close to that. Not many teams have 3 outright NBA players on their roster at any given time, even in the transfer portal window. And you look at the top teams, but you do have some of that with guys on this roster. And there we go. Okay. What's up, Tommy? How you doing? Speak of the devil. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm glad this is the right Brandon. We went on Nick's phone and FaceTime to random Brandon. So I'm glad we got.
I hope he's a member of Florida Victorious.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I just want to call and say thank you for being a member too, man.
Of course.
Yeah. How's the podcast going? I heard you're doing a podcast right now.
Yes, sir. We were actually just talking about the basketball team, so that was perfect timing. Just talk about you guys.
Good stuff. What were we saying?
That I think you guys are Natty or bust this year, to be honest with you. I think that's how I'm talking about it. At least I don't know how you guys feel, but that's the way I'm going to talk about it.
That's how we're talking. I got Zell here too.
What's up, Zell? Good. How are you?
Thank you for being a member. I appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you guys at the games too.
Of course. Thank you.
Awesome, man. See you, brother.
See you. Well, there you go. Never know what's going to happen in Gator Nation, right? You sometimes get a FaceTime in the middle of recording because Florida Victorious is doing their thankathon right now where they're calling members all throughout the day. And you can sign up if you're a member. I think every member got a phone call. So if you're a member, you probably got one as well. Apparently, I am in the Thomas Haugh window. That was it. Apparently, Thomas Haugh and Denzel Aberdeen. We're in the middle of that window for the team that you heard it, right? We established this. I said, I'm saying Natty or bust. He was like, I like it too. That's what we're talking about. So I'm going to stamp it. Florida Gators, Natty or bust this year. And like I said, this is a team built around retention and defense. And Denzel Aberdeen is someone that wasn't retained, but he was indeed here 2 seasons ago. Of course, went to I'm going to say he went on a sabbatical to Kentucky, and then now he's back in the Florida Gators. By the way, still undefeated in games where Denzel Aberdeen hits a 3, and he shot 36% from 3 last year. So I kind of like the odds for the Florida Gators here. Again, plus 600. I will be betting it. I made this abundantly clear. I bet it before Florida actually won it in 2024, 2025. I bet it again this year. Didn't hit this time. But hey, we're shooting 50% here, right? This is a team that they do have some losses. Of course, Xavier Lee and Micah Hanlogton are guys that went to the portal or attempted to go to the NBA first, then went to the portal. But with the new NCAA eligibility rulings, they're back and eligible to play college basketball, but Florida's roster is already filled out, which is kind of how it happened for a lot of guys right now. I will say from personally, Micah Hanlogton is someone I would gladly welcome back with open arms there. But the best front court in basketball, you've got Denzel Aberdeen and Boogie Fland, which are arguably going to be the best defensive backcourt in college basketball. You've got both of them back. Todd Golden is here. You've got a bunch of young players that we're talking about taking the next steps. Right? Personally, Isaiah Brown is someone that I'm really excited for. I know CJ Ingram is someone that the entire fan base has been clamoring for since last year. But I mean, Isaiah Brown is someone that like insane hops. If you got a consistent jumper, then we are cooking. The Florida Gators should be viewed as potential national champions again. In my opinion, they should be viewed as the favorites. That kind of retention matters. This is a team that had one flaw really through the majority of the season, and it was perimeter shooting. And you addressed it. Like, I don't think Boogie Fland is going to shoot that poorly from 3 again, especially because this is the first time where he's got the whole offseason to work healthy, and that hasn't been an option for him. And you've got Denzel Aberdeen, who I mentioned, shot 36% from 3. And you've got the reigning, defending 6th man of the year in Urban Klavjar. And Urban is there. Like you're talking about guys that are all coming back ready to score, ready to compete. And I'll tell you what, I don't know internally what their expectations were last year, but I can tell you that it wasn't exactly the way they wanted the season to end. So I'd imagine they got a bit of a sour taste in their mouth. They got a tough schedule this year. Again, it's going to be fun. It's going to be intense. And I'll tell you what, I need 2 things from Florida this year. I need you to beat Duke, and I need you to go win the national championship. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all of my written work about the Florida Gators with swampsignal.substack.com, and I will see you all next time.